This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas. Magazine publisher and entrepreneur Judith Mancini is sharing captivating conversations with experts in their field about the latest trends in our ever-changing world to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Judith Mancini Today will spark your interest and inspire you to lead your best life ever. And now, here's Judith.
Judith Mancini Today is sponsored by Basic Brands, Inc., providing the highest quality specialty products in the natural food industry. Visit basicbrandsinc.com and enter JMT15 for your 15% discount on your very first order, including their best-selling Vitamin E ointment, which helps restore moisture and elasticity to your skin. Hello, everybody. This is Judith Mancini Today, and I am Judith Mancini, as you know. So today, we're going to talk about happiness. But before we do, I want to mention a couple things that are in the news. One of them is Dennis Quaid. You remember Dennis Quaid from all the movies he made and all the news he made with his addiction problem and everything else going on. Well, he has turned his life around and he wants to share it with all of you. He's got a new album out. You know, before he was an actor, he was really into music. He loved that. And he's always played in a little band with his friends and all, like many of the actors do. And I don't know if this is his very first album he's published or not, but he has this new religious come to Jesus, be saved, be forgiven, wonderful album called Fallen. And it has gospel music in it that he's written about his finding Jesus, finding Christianity, and how it helped him to become sober. So we wish him well with this and thank him for sharing all of this, because there may be some of you out there that might want to listen to it and see what Dennis Quaid did to straighten his life out. I really like Dennis Quaid. I've always admired his acting and all, and I'm very happy for him. So that's why I'm telling you about Dennis Quaid this morning. So get on it. You can get it, you know, on your laptop or on your phone or on your tablet. Go to the music part. So our theme today of the show is happiness, but it's pretty hard to do a show on happiness when so many people are disgruntled and unhappy in our country right now. We have depressing news almost every day. Maybe we have happy news once in a while, but here is, well, the Dennis Quaid was interesting, happy news, but here is some of the depressing news. You know, former President Trump is being indicted one more time this afternoon at 4:00 Eastern time. And he has 4 counts against him. I'm not even going to go into that. Do yourself a favor. Turn on your television, your streaming service, your phone, whatever, and listen to this and see what's going on. There are a great number of people outside the courthouse right now, and they have extra security around it. They put up the big fences like they did around the Capitol after January 6th. So they're expecting riots, but the people that are there are in favor of Trump. They think this is a travesty of the law. Now, there was only one man protesting, and he said, lock him up, and it had a picture of Trump on it. One man this morning. I don't know what's going on right now. But people are starting to get a little tired of this when they see that the Bidens are so corrupt and that Hunter's good friend, Darren, what was his name? Darren, I can't think of his last name. At any rate, he just testified for many, many hours and said that Joe Biden was on phone calls and at meetings and at dinners and different things. So why are we having a two opposite laws pertaining to presidents and vice presidents and Hunter Biden when there's no proof that Trump did any of this? They're trying to get him for those documents in his house. And I'm here to tell you that when we have lived all over the country in different cities for my husband to be turning companies around for various venture capital people after he retired from his CEO position, he was doing this as consulting. And sometimes we lived in little tiny apartments and we might have a powder room that had a bathtub in it. And I would make it pretty with the different curtains in it. And I used the bathtub for storage because we didn't have any storage in the tiny apartment. So even though Mar-a-Lago is so big, Trump is allowed to take presidential papers and to say that it's against the law to put them in bathtubs and things like that. Well, what about Joe Biden putting it in an open garage behind his Corvette? And don't you think he's maybe should give up driving his Corvette? I know at my age, my kids are telling me to give up my Mercedes sports car, but I'm not doing it yet. Well, maybe Biden feels like that too. So I don't know, but we'll see. I just want to mention that there was a very good policeman who had a tax problem like Hunter Biden did. I guess he was doing it. They didn't give me any details when I was listening this morning. But for the same kind of thing and what he was charged with, he was given many years in prison for his tax problem. And Hunter, they're just looking at him and saying, "Oh, you're such a clever guy." What is wrong with our Justice Department now? I guess it's the Democrats against the Republicans and the other conservatives. I don't get it. This country is falling into socialism and communism. Look at what foreign nations have done by building and buying up all of our land, our farmland. Another one was just exposed in northern and central California in our agricultural area. Just terrible. Okay, let's get out of this depressing news and let's start talking about happiness, the art of happiness. And I know my papers are making noise in my microphone. I'm so sorry. So I'm not talking about the kind of happiness where you get giddy, and everybody does, when you have happiness that you experience when you're just got engaged with your boyfriend and you're looking forward to a happy marriage and a happy life, or little kids that are jumping around and running around being giddy over their new toy truck or now a new tablet. I'm talking about the mind-body connection between happiness and sadness, or just thinking that everything isn't going the way you want. You want to be happy and laughing and playing every day and having that warm sensation that comes over you like you experience when you've just had a baby. Those things don't happen all the time. I want you to think about happiness as being well-being, contentment, getting up in the morning and saying, "Oh, what a beautiful day," instead of saying, "Oh my gosh, I have so much to do. I don't know what to do anymore." I want you to think about things like that. You know, people think that life is just filled with joy. But that doesn't always happen. You have to make each morning set the tone for the rest of your day. So when you get up in the morning, why don't you think of the things you're blessed? How about your partner laying next to you? How about the sun coming in your window? Or even the rain coming down to water your flowers or your lawns or your high rise that gives you a view of the city or your little cottage out in the woods. How lucky you are to have a roof over your head. Right now, we're experiencing a lot of sadness in our country with homelessness, and it's a problem we need to solve. But did you ever think about you out there who have been fortunate enough to have a housekeeper in your abode, whether it's a small cottage or it's your grand estate? Did you ever think about how your housekeeper walks around when she's cleaning and she's singing? She may be singing hymns, or she may just be singing the most popular song of the day. Why aren't you singing? What makes her happy as she's cleaning your house and makes you feel depressed while you should be enjoying your nice house? I don't know if it's just all the extraneous things that are going on in the world now, but this, to me, this discontent started during the 80s and the 90s. It became rampant. And it became rampant with a lot of people who were so fortunate they were making a lot of money. And that was the beginning of the rise of the venture capitalists and all sorts of investment banking and things like that. And many people became multimillionaires in the 80s and 90s, but many people didn't. Many people just had normal salaries from going to work and struggled. But who was happy and who wasn't happy? Were the people who were making all that money happy because they had the money? I remember times in Beverly Hills where some of these people were trying to keep up with the Joneses. They would go out and buy their big Mac mansions. They had no furniture. They might have the latest zippy car, but it was leased. And some people think leasing a car is a good idea. Well, it is, I suppose, if your company is giving it to you as a perk and you lease it that way. But they didn't own anything except their house that they had trouble paying the mortgages on, and an empty house. They were lucky if they had beds in it for their children to sleep in and the staff to take care of it. This thing of competing with people over money got to be so outrageous. And a lot of people ended up going bankrupt. And of course, you all know the housing market fell, and there was a terrible problem with people with a lot of money in 2008. So, money does not always make you happy. There are other things that make you happy. The child that's waking up and saying, Mommy, your mother saying, Oh, I'm so happy you are my daughter. There's all sorts of wonderful things that wake you up with joy in your life. But one of the things I think is the most important thing is starting your day with gratitude. I think also there's so much talk now about well-being being connected to happiness. I think it's a known fact, and science is studying it now, that if you are basically a happy person, you get outdoors more, you exercise more, you eat better, and you enjoy a healthier lifestyle. Now, they definitely are studying these things, how your mind is connected to your body. But a lot of people think because you're happy and not worrying all the time, that that does help your health a great deal. Why are some people happy and why are other people not happy? I think it's because they set their mind to be happy. They want to live a happy life. So they set their mind so they have the correct mindset. I hope that makes some good sense to you. I'm not speaking here now of mental health. If you're terribly distressed and depressed every day of your life, then you need to have professional help. There are people out there, your therapists, your psychologists, what have you, to help you work your way through a depression. That's totally different. I'm talking about people who just go through life ho hum, and they're looking for that kicking your feet in the air happiness. And I believe you can find that if you have the right mindset. I was reminded lately of Anthony Bourdain. I'm sure many of you know him. He was the great restaurateur who started his life as what I call a normal child growing up in America, not overly happy, not overly sad, and he was in the New York area, and he progressed as he became a teen and a young man out to Long Island to places like the Hamptons and the more ritzy areas. And he went and got a job in one of the restaurants washing dishes and watching the prep cooks and all of that. And that's where his love of food came in, and he found a purpose in his life, something that made him happy. Well, he wrote his first book and it became a bestseller because I think the title of it was something like "You'll Never Eat in a Restaurant Again," and he exposed a lot of the icky stuff that went on in restaurants, the fish that sat there too long, the prime rib that was dipped in hot water to warm it up instead of really cooking it that day, things like that. So he, in between that time, became so successful with people having him cook that he opened up his own restaurant and became very successful. And then he went on in his life. I'm not going to tell you his entire biography, but he went on in life to have television series and write more books. And he became famous, and he became an addict, and he then destroyed his life. And then he tried to get off it, but he kept making television shows about traveling the world and discovering interesting things in places like Vietnam and Thailand and Germany and Spain and all over the world. And it was a hugely successful series on television, and it's being rerun right now. And for some reason, it's not running in exactly the order of his life. And as my husband and I were there watching, in the beginning, he was happy and enjoyed it. And as time went on, he became more addicted to drinking. He was drinking tons or gallons and gallons. And he became addicted to cocaine. And basically, he destroyed his life and he became very unhappy. And why I'm telling you this is one of his segments was where he was being listened to by a therapist who dealt in people's happiness. And he was lying on the psychiatrist couch that they used to have and talking to this woman therapist. I didn't hear if she was a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a therapist or what exactly her credentials were. But she kept asking him, "Why aren't you happy?" And he kept saying, "I'm just not happy. I'm just not happy." And this segment showed how he was losing weight, how he looked extremely tired. And he would stay up all night long filming these things. But he never found happiness. And a few years ago, his best friend couldn't find him, and he eventually found him. He had hung himself in a hotel in Paris. He never did find happiness. So, what I'm saying is, obviously, he had some kind of mental illness going on in his head that made him want to be addicted and party and just do too much of what he thought was a good thing. But why couldn't he ever find happiness? And he said this to the therapist. I have tons of money. I have the best job in the world. All I do is travel around the world, and I'm treated so nicely by everybody in foreign countries. And I eat, I dine, I have a ball. But why am I not happy? Well, I don't know why he wasn't happy. I'm not a therapist. But I would have to say, even though people loved him and wanted to be with him and talk to him, he was missing giving back to people. He was giving back to people by sharing their restaurants with them and all, but he still was having a problem with his marriage, his first marriage and his second marriage, and he never could find happiness. I don't want that to happen to other people. I just had a tragedy in my life. I know you know, I talk about it all the time. So, about a year and a half ago, more, my son took his own life. And he was always kind of a sad person, but I didn't know or think he suffered from mental illness. Well, people will say if you take your life, you are mentally ill. I say maybe you're looking to help other people, and maybe you're looking to get out of your problems. I don't know why. I question myself all the time, and I haven't come up with an answer, so I can't give you an answer today. All I could do is try to help you be happy. Now, my son was happy in many different ways. He could just stand with me by his house or my house and look at the mountains and see the light coming down on it, the sun going down and turning the tips of the mountains purple and gold and all, and see the beauty in the world. He loved his children, and that made him happy. So, what makes you happy? I think one of our problems that have started occurring during the 80s and 90s, particularly in the 90s, is when everybody started going into technology. Now, I'm not against technology, I'm against screen time. I try to watch my screen time very closely because you can become addicted to it. And you can become addicted to getting your news on the internet, on news sites or on social media and everybody's opinion. But also, children are now getting their own tablets when they're very young. And some of it is good because there are learning sites on it, and there is some entertainment with some good movies that teach you good things. But I don't think you should spend your entire summer vacation in the house playing video games or watching movies. And I don't think that parents should be on the screens all the time. Now, I know a lot of you do work, and being on technology, being on the internet is part of your job. That's the way things are now. You write documents on it. You look and see what's going on in your office chat rooms, all of that. And it consumes you. And you get home and you want to catch up with your friends. And then you're at the dinner table with your kids and they don't want to miss a phone call. It's bad. This technology has stolen a lot of our happiness, where we used to take great little walks after dinner. You don't see that too much in the United States anymore. You still see it in Europe, in different places like France and Italy. Uh, excuse me, a passeggiata after dinner. And you got your exercise, but you also stepped away from the day's strife. And you thought about the beautiful water trickling in the fountains in the piazza, and you You talk to your neighbors as they came out and took a little passeggiata. And even courting was different. And the girls would all link arms and walk around the courtyards or what have you, and the men would follow along, and eventually they would talk. Life has changed, and I have to say, of course, some things are for the better. We're getting a handle on disease, and we're getting a handle on how to take care of your money as you progress as an adult, and hopefully you're getting what you need in life, like a house. You're trying to raise your children so they have a good education. Of course, a lot of things have changed, and many of the technological improvements, like the internet and all, have made life easier for us. It's like saying, let's do this climate control and take away all your gas stoves. Does that make you happy? Does it save you any money? What good does it do? Oh, it's like shooting those cows. That's going to help control the climate. Come on, people. Start using your brain, and that will make you happier. All right? So, what I want to tell you is you need to reset that brain of yours. And you need to think about some of the different things that are going on in your life and take more time for yourself so that you can set your mind for a new mindset. Take time to smell the roses. Take time to go out. You take your little toddler out for a walk. For some reason, people think that once your child is out of being a toddler, you no longer need to take them to the park, except in places in New York where there's only asphalt. So you take them to Central Park or another park. But even in California, you kind of stop taking your toddlers out after they become 4 or 5, because they start going to preschool. And then when you pick them up from preschool, you take them home and you have dinner, and then it's bedtime. And all too often, the parents sit them in front of a television. When you take those kids out with a family walk after dinner, even if it's dark, you can look at the stars. Buy one of your kids a telescope. Show them how to use it outside to see the stars. See the moon. Look for the man in the moon. Take your mind off of the world's woes. Take your mind off of work. Because the more you think about this project that's going on, you're no longer present in the moment. And that steals your happiness. So try to stay in the moment and forget all the other things until the beginning of the next day. Now, I know some of you take home work projects and all. Life is not easy when you're competing, but you still need to take time for yourself and get that mindset going with joyfulness. All right, so I think the most stressful time where you forget to think about yourself is in your 40s and 50s for men and women. Women, particularly, because often women are mothers and since the 80s have become career women also. And so there's little time left for them to take care of themselves. You know, they go to their job and then they have their kids and they take care of that, then they take care of their spouse, and it gets wrapped up in all of it. So as I say, you need to get this out of your head that you have no minutes to yourself. I think there are some things you need to do right away to get into a state of happiness. And one of them, to get your mindset right. Now, some of my friends that are life coaches are not going to like this, but I think you should stop reading self-help books. I'm not talking about a business book that helps you learn how to do an online business or teach people skills Or even if you're a life coach, teach them how to be happy. Don't teach them how to self-improve. What I want you to do, instead of buying all those books one after another, now I'm not trying to banish books, believe me, but I want you to think before you buy your next one. I want you to think about how much time you spend with yourself. And during this time, I want you to sit down and write a list of everything that you're proud of that you have done in your life and why you like yourself. Why you like yourself because you think you look good. Why you like yourself because you think you're smart. Why you like yourself because you love to give to others. Why you think you're the best mom. Why you think you're the best spouse. I want you to make a list and make that your first self-improvement book. You'll be surprised how many things you can think of that you're good at, that you should be proud of, and that makes you happy and brings joy back into your life. All right. Now, as we move along here, I have a couple things that I want you to write down. Number one, after you make this list of what you think is wonderful in your life and what you're good at, I want you to write down these things that I think, excuse me, my nose is itching. Somebody must be coming to visit me. Number one, I want you to help others. The generosity of your time can make you happy. Yes, you can contribute to charities and all, but if you have any modicum of free time on the weekend or can make free time on the weekend or after work or something, try to give back to others who need it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a charity. It could be a friend of yours who hasn't gone out for a long time, who's become kind of a shut-in with her computer, doing who knows what she's doing, reading self-help books on the internet, trying to figure out why she doesn't have any friends. Well, you're her friend. The reason she doesn't have more friends is because she doesn't interact with people. She needs to go out. You don't need to go to an expensive restaurant. You can go out and have coffee after your dinner at home. You could go out and have one cocktail. You know, women should only drink 2 drinks. That's the ladylike way to do it. Okay, don't criticize me. I'm a lady. All right. So you could give your time to a friend, a child who needs tutoring. You could give it to a friend who needs a friend, or an older person who doesn't have friends. Or you can join a charity and go out with the ladies and plan the next meeting or plan the next way you're going to raise funds to give to the ARCS Foundation, which gives scholarships to postgraduate students. That's my charity. Okay, so the other thing, I want you to stop spending time wasted in the car. I want you to stop listening to this crazy music these days. And I love the music of today, but it's all loud. And sometimes you can't understand the words. And sometimes when you do understand the words, you wish you hadn't understood the words. But there's a lot of really great music out there too. But what I'm suggesting to you is, why don't you turn on a classical station with something soothing, or a jazz station that would be soothing to you? Or you could listen to public radio when they have one of their radio nights on, where they have a show on. There's all sorts of things you could listen to in the car. I guess you don't have CDs in cars anymore. I'm not sure, because I don't have a brand new car. I have a 10-year-old car and it still takes CDs and it still runs perfectly fine. So I put my CDs in that are soothing to me. And that would be better than playing the music of today that keeps you, excuse me, keeps you wound up. And sure, you could be shouting out to the music too. That's fun too. But why don't you leave that to your commute in the morning, or during the day when you're running your errands? And then in the evening when you're driving home, turn on something soothing and bring back the joy in your life. You know, it's not possible to be happy 24/7. It just isn't. Things come up in your life and you can't control them. And sometimes tragedies come up in your life. But sometimes when you bring it on yourself, for instance, when you're having dinner with your family and your mind isn't right with it and you're thinking about how you're going to have this meeting tomorrow morning. That's your time to be happy. But 47% of people, when they're having dinner or having a conversation with their kids or a loved one or even a good friend, 47% are thinking of something else. That's a remarkable number. I found that in my research in Time magazine, of all places. I don't even read Time magazine, but once in a while they will come out with really good studies, and that was in the study they did. So I am now going to tell you how Time magazine rates some jobs. These are the happiest according to a survey in Time magazine, and you'll be surprised. I only went through a few of them because they did a very comprehensive study and it went on to the ones that people just like the most, and I'm not going to get into that today. So sometimes you have to do jobs you don't like. You need to put food on the table for your kids. So I'm concentrating on people who are being happy in their jobs. On the top of the list were clergy, whatever religion you are, whether you're Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Hindu, whatever. The clergy was at the top of the list of being happy. Well, why do you suppose that is? One, because they believe in a superpower of some sort, a spiritual part of their life. You know, I'm a Christian, so you know what I believe, and that always makes me happy. The second were firefighters. Now, why do you suppose that is? Firefighters. That's also one of the most dangerous jobs. So, why would firefighters be one of the most happy professions? Well, I believe it's because they help people and they save lives. They save the injured, they save the trapped. They save people's homes and their personal belongings and their memories. Right up there with that are ticket agents. Ticket agents. I think that's marvelous. They have tickets that they sell for concerts, tickets that they sell for airplanes. I thought that was a really remarkable thing. That's right up there at number 2 with firefighters. Number 3 were architects. Now, how happy would you be to design something wonderful that someone's going to go live in, or apartment buildings and put on all the little details that make people happy? That made sense to me. But right there next to them were special education teachers, because there they are building something also. They're building confidence. They're building how to speak, how to read, whatever the problem or the challenge, I should say, to a child who needs special education is one of the most satisfying jobs in the world. And it's such a wonderful thing for people to devote their life to it. So that's why they're up there at number 3. Number 4 surprised me. Actors and directors in movies and television shows, plays on Broadway and other places. Maybe because they live in a pretend world where everything is happy, but they make some really sad and frightening movies and plays too, and express some terrible tragedies and life problems that people go through. But these actors and directors are right up there at number 4 as being the happiest professions. And number 5, pilots. I think because pilots are kind of selfish. They think about themselves a lot. If that makes them happy, more power to them. But next to them, in number 5, are butlers. Butlers. People who help other people in their own homes that do a myriad of things. They take care of all the household things. Sometimes they take care of planning their activities, their socializing. Butlers. That sounds good to me because they also get, if you're a real butler, you get wonderful living conditions with your own room, or perhaps if you're working for somebody very wealthy, you get your own little cottage. So I can understand why butlers would be happy. And usually the head butler has pretty steady hours that he works and time off, but they also sometimes have to work odd hours if there's a party that runs in late in the night. So number 6, there are the police. And I think maybe this study was an old study because I don't think police could possibly be number 6 on the list anymore. Why? Because there are too many people who hate the police. They don't think about the good things that they do, the way they save people, the way they hinder violence. They just think about defunding the police. And that has, I think, changed the status of the police on the list of most happy. I think a lot of policemen are very unhappy now at the way the world has changed or our country has changed against the police. And I want you to remember they're the ones that keep your happiness safe and your privilege. So let's try to treat police a little better. Number 7 are realtors, and physicians are right there with realtors. Well, of course, realtors, because they're helping you find a beautiful home to live in or a beautiful apartment to rent. And physicians, they're supposed to keep us all well, and they save lives and contribute to the betterment of everybody. Economists and electricians and engineers are coming next in line. And you can think of your own reasons why all these people are so happy. Because they're all helping other people. They're full of gratitude for having jobs. And they like what they do. They enjoy what they do. Car salespeople usually work for a car sales company that they love the car. A Mercedes dealer, a BMW, or a Lamborghini dealership, or even a Kia. Everybody likes different kinds of cars. So I can understand why car salesmen or women would be so happy. They're doing something they enjoy. That's the trick. Do something you enjoy with something you enjoy. Now, if you work in an office, you better hope that it's a company that you could stand behind when somebody asks about a recommendation, in no matter what you're doing. And that will make you happier. And up there also are secretaries, which are now personal assistants. So you see this is a little older survey because I don't know anybody who calls anybody a secretary anymore. I think that's kind of crazy. I didn't know there was a reason not to use the word secretary and instead fill it with personal assistant. Well, and the other one are registered nurses. Registered nurses are just as important as doctors and sometimes spend more time, more than likely, spend more time with patients than a doctor does, or a physician if you prefer. So these people are high on the list. And if you're looking for this, I bet you could Google or duck, duck, quack, or quack, quack, duck. I could never remember that one. You could find it on Google Times list of happy occupations. So in our country, still from this Time survey, 55% of people responding said they were mostly happy. 30% said they were very happy. And 15% said they're not very happy. So I want to give you one more statistic statistic here before we end up closing the show today. On this chart of who was the happiest in their profession and listing those and why they were happy, there was also one statistic that during this political season just made me laugh. It found that Republicans are 40% happy, Democrats are 31% happy, and independents are only 30% happy. So that's their day-to-day life, and that just really tickled my funny bone. So I wish I could tell you more things today, but I'm actually running out of time. I just want to leave you with a couple things. When you're stressed out and you want more joy in your life, you've really got to concentrate on that. So find these things that you can change in your life. Stop being a multitasker and stop and smell the roses. That time that you're trying to do the washing, do a letter to your boss, finish a research assignment, stop. Take a little short walk outside and take your children with you and tell them what that flower is and why it smells so good. Tell them why the bumblebee is there and the honeybee is there and they're pollinating the other plants. You're going to be happier. It's going to reset your mind. So your mindset will be happy. Don't let your mind wander. And that's why I want you to reset it. Concentrate on what you're doing at the moment and stay in the moment. And try some of these ways to stay in the moment. Meditation can calm you down and it can help you with your mindset. Breath, breathing in, that I've often said before, 10 times, holding it and letting it out again. 10 times doing it in a regular basis can calm you down and keep your mind on happiness. Enjoy the food, enjoy the moment, enjoy the flowers, enjoy the moment. Enjoy your girlfriend, enjoy your boyfriend, enjoy your children, but stay in the moment and hear the music like we just talked about. And spending your hard worked for money, be sure you're getting things like the car you want. It can make you happy. Stop complaining, live in the moment, and help others. Now, when I'm telling you to spend your money differently, the way you spend your money on needless things and spend it on something better instead of the next designer handbag that comes out for $6,000, why don't you take that money and go on a vacation with your children? Or why don't you take that money and instead put it into a season of concert tickets or season of plays, seasons of concerts, symphonies, whatever. Do it something that will help you. Take your children to a museum. Take your children to a park they've never been to. You know, right here in LA, we have Griffith Park. It has small mountains in it, the foothills. It has trains in it, carousels in it. The zoo is close by. I bet most of the people in Los Angeles have never even been there. Years ago, I used to try to go to zoos in every city I visited. Now, I know a lot of people don't like locking up the animals, but that's also how we research, and the animals now are treated much better in zoos than they ever were before. So add that to your list. Think about being happy. Come on, smile and be happy, and the world will smile with you. Those are words to a song. Try singing it today. And I want you to remember, cherish yesterday, dream tomorrow, and live today.